Hello again, my friends. This is Brian King. As you know, I work with clients that have Asperger's, ADHD, dyslexia, and especially challenges that impact a person's ability to be as socially effective as they would like. And I was having an email or messaging coaching session with a client who was interested in learning, how do you interrupt a conversation? Somebody is, a couple people are talking about something that really interests you, and you really want to step in, but you're not quite sure how to do it. And kind of the wrong ways to do it, wrong meaning there's some kind of backlash or people are upset with you. So, hey, Shirley, Jessica, Phoebe, thank you so much for joining in. And anybody else that joins in, please feel free to make a comment, say hi, give me a like, let me know you're there. So when it comes to wanting to participate in a conversation that's already in progress, you're afraid of being rude, you're afraid of interrupting, and yet you really want to be a part. So what do you do? So I started giving some advice to this client of mine, and I realized that it was something I could tease out into steps that a person could look through as a point of reference, kind of a template for interrupting in a way that would not only make you can ease in there much more gently and not upset people, but really make you seem like a tremendous asset to the people that you're talking to. Now, one thing that, ADHD scatterbrain again, let me get into the steps here, okay? And these are my steps. This is just how I thought it through. I'm sure there are going to be some gaps in the knowledge. The things that I record aren't exhaustive. They're mostly to begin the conversation, kind of get you thinking about what it is you do in situations like this. And we can absolutely troubleshoot it, talk about it, because ultimately any strategy's value is going to be in how well you can customize it to your unique needs. So consider this a general outline to use, okay? Does that sound good? So in terms of interrupting a conversation that's already in progress, the first thing I want you to do is ask yourself a question. Is what I'm going to say going to add value to this conversation? A very important question. There's an old, I think it originated from Chinese Zen, a wonderful saying that said, if what you're going to say is not an improvement to the silence, then silence is better. That is a wonderful value no matter who you are, because there are plenty of us out there that love to prove how smart we are, love to talk just to hear our own voice, and worst of all, they want to interject in a conversation because they want to prove that they're the smartest kid in the room. I know more than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm right. You're wrong. If that is what you want to add to a conversation, keep your mouth shut. Period. But if you're going to interrupt to add value, then it's worth making the effort. So how do you know whether you're going to add value or not? Well, there's this next question. What need of those participating is going to be met by your information? So immediately you think about the people that are involved. How will their lives be better? And we got to check our ego at the door here. It's not, well, I'm the most correct and they're wrong. And aren't they going to feel better if they're right? Well, if your premise is they're wrong and you're right, they first have to accept that they're wrong before they can hear that you're right. So you need to be careful with that. Are you going to bruise an ego in the process of giving your information? Well, part of the steps of interruption are going to prevent the ego bruise or minimize the possibility of it. Because I'm really big at keeping the lines of conversation open without the defenses going up. So I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? Now, let's get into how you actually do the interrupting. Okay, now remember, you're not getting in to be right, you're not getting in to convince, and you're not getting in to correct anyone. You're getting to add value to meet a need of the people talking, okay? And one of the ways you can find out is if they, what their need is, listen. If they say things like, well, I really wish I knew more about this, or, I forgot the name of that article, or, hey, do you know anybody who could help me out with this? And things like that let you know that they want information, as opposed to two people that are arguing over who's right and who's wrong. Chances are you want to stay out of that one, because that's not the conversation you want to have. You don't want to have a black and white conversation. You want to step into conversations where they're exploring, they're trying to discover, they're sharing ideas. Make sense? Where it seems more cooperative and less combative. Okay, so you've decided whether you're going to add value. You've decided what need you believe is going to be met for the people talking before you even consider stepping in. So once you've established that, I'm going to quick drink of water here. Okay, once you establish those two, you want to get permission. You want to get permission to interrupt, okay? And there's a couple ways that I've used that I've discovered that you do this. First, you can interrupt by your sheer presence. And the way I do that is you see two people talking, and physically you just kind of stand behind one person. What I recommend is, unless there's rapid fire going back and forth, they're taking turns kind of having the stage. You stand behind the person that's not talking within the line of sight of the person that is talking. And when that person's talking, you can just kind of look at them intently, maybe nod your head a little bit in agreement or acknowledgement. So you have now begun giving that person feedback that they're being heard. And that's something that they're looking for. That's meeting a need of theirs. They want to be heard. They want to be attended to. And I want this fly that's buzzing around in the back room to go away. I can see it all over the place too. So that's how you interrupt with your presence. Now, another way you can interrupt is with your nonverbal. And this again will work if you're in the line of sight of the person talking, or if you've kind of formed a triangle where you're kind of between and they can both kind of see you peripherally. So you'll do things with your nonverbal where you're standing there again, you're nodding, you're using a lot of facial expression, you're turning your head to the person that's talking here, then turning your head to the person that's talking there. So nonverbally, you've included yourself. Now, some people will say, excuse me, this is a private conversation. And you can either say, oh, pardon me, I didn't mean to eavesdrop and walk away. Or you can say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that because I could hear you from over here. And I'm intrigued by this conversation. Or it sounded like an intelligent conversation. And I really wanted to hear it. So what you do is you compliment them. Again, you're meeting a need of theirs, right? Who wants to feel smart? Everyone. As opposed to, well, I'd never come across a couple of idiots quite like you two, and the stuff you're uttering is absolute nonsense, and I've never heard such nonsense of such high quality, so I wanted to stand by and just take it all in. You're not going to say that. You're going to compliment them, so they may change their mind about it being private. They might want to include you because now they have a fan. They have a cheerleader. And also because you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was private because I could hear it from over here. Because some people forget, kind of like Facebook, where they put something out there and thinking it was just for their friends. Before they know it, friends of friends are chiming in and everything. Oh, I didn't mean that photo to be shared. Then keep it in your album and off of Facebook. Okay? So you sometimes mistakenly think it's private when it's not. So if you use some of those phrases that I just suggested, that might loosen the barrier a little bit. You let them know how smart they are, that you're interested in learning something, and could you listen in? Another way you could interrupt is by using some verbal sounds. So this is in addition to making the triangle, where you can be seen by both, or standing behind the one who's not talking, being in the line of sight with the one who is, and using sounds like, uh-huh, yes, or mm-mm. The mm-mm is the sound of disagreement. So typically when you make that one, You might get their attention of, oh, sorry, did this not agree with you, or do you have something to say? Then you ask for permission to share. Even though they say, oh, something about this not sit right with you, the permission to share, the questions that you ask need to come in the form of, I want to add to, as opposed to, I want to contradict, I want to minimize, I want to correct, okay? So the question you will ask is, oh, if it's all right, may I add to what you just said? Because if you're adding to it, you're basically suggesting that there is validity to what you said. I just want to say more. As opposed to, oh yes, thank you, because for the moment there, I couldn't believe how full of crap you are, and I just wanted to step in and set you straight. You're not going to do that. Because they've invited you into their conversation, into their space. You want to respect that. So you'll say, oh, may I add to that, please? Or may I piggyback on your point just now? And then you give your thoughts, your opinions, in the spirit of, have you considered this? Or I once heard that. So you're just putting something out there as food for thought. And here's the fourth step, okay? And this is something that takes a lot of work for all of us because of that wonderful little ego that likes to hang around and be a nuisance. The fourth step is have no attachment to whether your input is accepted or not. You're simply putting information in there to say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? They say, nah, I don't buy that. Okay, just wanted to put it out there. Because you want to make yourself a source of information, things to consider, things to reflect upon. You don't want to step in there and be an authority who wants to dominate the conversation and tell them what to think, how to think, and when to think. It's not going to make you very welcome, especially if you've been invited to join the conversation already in progress. To step in and dominate it makes you a jerk. It doesn't make you an asset. And when you are done with the conversation, either you're ready to leave because you've got other things to do, it's suddenly gotten boring, or because they've decided to end the conversation. Make sure that you thank them for including you, allowing you to participate. So you say, hey guys, or hey ladies, thank you so much for letting me listen. I really learned a lot. I really appreciate that. Or thank you for letting me step in. Please continue. I hope you guys have a great evening. Gratitude. Can't go wrong with gratitude. It's polite, it's humble, it's powerful. So let me recap the 5 steps really quickly. The first one is you have to decide if you're going to add value to the conversation. Number 2, what need of those participating in the conversation is going to be met by your information? People don't have a need to feel wrong. People don't have a need to feel stupid. They have a need to learn, to grow, to expand their horizons. And you can do that in a very simple, respectful way. Now, we get into step 3, which is you get permission to join in and to share. Once you've been given permission to join, and I explained the various ways to do that, you can interrupt with your presence, with your nonverbal, or with your verbal. But once you are invited to share, you say things such as, oh, may I add to what you just said? Can I piggyback off the point you just made? So you're showing them that, yes, there's value in what you just said. I want to add to it. The 4th step, have no attachment to whether your input is accepted or not. Because it's not about you. It's about you adding value to that conversation. And lastly, thank them for allowing you to participate. You tell them, hey, thanks for letting me chime in. I appreciate it. Hey, thanks for letting me step in here. Have a great day. So those are the 5 steps I came up with. And I want to hear from you. Jessica, you said that's definitely a hard part. This is different kind of thinking, and I realize that because one of my passions, having grown up with the ADHD and the social clumsiness, I sucked at talking to people. I was bad. You're interrupting, you're being rude, how dare you? So once I decided I was sick and tired of those kind of responses, and I set myself out I wanted to become a master of communication. I wanted to figure it out. And these are some of the things I think about. So this is just what I've discovered. I want to hear if what I've talked about today has value for you. Tell me what about this has been helpful. So go ahead and comment and give me your 2 cents. I'm inviting you to step into the conversations. This conversation. Let me know what worked for you. Great steps. They would be great for anyone to learn. Yes, Jessica, that's the point. One thing that I love is when people comment and say, man, this isn't just for people with Asperger's or ADHD. This is for everyone. You think maybe that's on purpose? I do that because these communities tend to other themselves. I have Asperger's and you have no idea what it's like to be me, therefore you couldn't possibly understand me. And once I've told you couldn't possibly understand me, so don't even try, because you might offend me, I'm mad because you don't reach out to me or include me. Sound crazy? Because it is. You make a point of separating yourself and simultaneously want to be included. That's why I think of myself as a human being and not a diagnosis. Because I'm connected with everyone. And we need to have strategies that bridge that gap and make the label a lot less relevant. So I put strategies out there that are universal. That could be used by you no matter what box you put yourself in. Whether it's dyslexia or bipolar or depression or anxious or just human being. You can use these strategies just the same. So I'm so glad you pointed that out, Jessica. And that is wonderful feedback that allowed me to know that I'm being successful at accomplishing my goal. Now, Shirley said, I would have had to really think about how to put this into words that you think I've done a great job of capturing the words. Thank you. Now, that's one of the things I'm grateful for is I was born with this ability to articulate my thinking and my experience. It's my DNA. So I really can't take credit for it and say, well, I worked hard to do this and so on. I just have the ability. Yes, I've refined it over the years, but it's just something I was equipped with, and how dare I keep it to myself? If you have a gift, you need to put it out there because that's what you were put here for. I have the gift to communicate, and I want to do it as effectively as possible. So I put it out there to hopefully help people. And with the feedback you're giving me, it lets me know that I've done so. Jessica, you agree with me 100%. I really appreciate that. And if you didn't agree with me, I'd appreciate that too, because it would give me the opportunity to learn from you. So at this point, I'll tell you what, let's keep the conversation going because we've got a good thread here. Keep making comments about what about this benefited you in particular. Tell me how you're going to use it. What kind of action are you going to take on this? And also, always in any video I do, suggest other topics you want me to cover. Because this came from a client who wanted some help on learning how to interrupt conversations. And the more we talked, the more I realized I'm giving this young man a sequence of steps. I should make this more concrete and share it. So here you go. And in this young man's case, we are going to continue this conversation so I can customize this strategy to a specific person he wants to talk to a specific couple of people he wants to talk to. And that's the real benefit of having a coach, folks, is that customization, because that's where the magic happens. You can do all the experimenting on your own and waste some time and feel frustrated and say, I tried this a dozen ways and it didn't work. Well, it didn't work the way you were doing it. But if you work with somebody who knows how to customize this strategy, namely the person who came up with it, it's really hard to go wrong with that. So thank you all for chiming in. It's always an absolute blessing to have you here. Keep the comments going. If you want a more private conversation, go ahead and private message me. I'm happy to help you out. And if there's anybody else that you know who might be a little socially awkward and could really benefit from this, by all means, share it with them. share it in some of the groups you belong to so that others can find value from this as well. So have a glorious day. This is Brian King. It's always a joy talking to you, and we'll talk again real soon.